Today we're gonna be reacting to the Critical Drinker Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I liked it. I don't know about you, but it was alright to me. Let's get right into it.
Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is without a doubt the best movie that Marvel have put out since No Way Home,
Definitely is.
which
It
I know in
definitely is.
retrospect is
I seen it a couple days ago. I liked it. It was good.
a bit like saying, that guy was the most intelligent frontal lobotomy victim that I've ever met. But anyway,
That's
take
true
it for
too.
what it is. It's the darkest and most serious of the Guardians
But
trilogy.
it was kind of fluctuating up and down with the it was a lot of comedy. It was like non-stop. Like everybody was trying to be a comedian. That kind of threw me. It was kind of weird. Like everybody trying to have funny lines now. Even Drax, like I don't like how they did Drax. They basically turned him into a clown. Drax the Destroyer in the comic book is nothing like that. He's not a clown. But it's like I kinda got used to it. But this movie, whew.
Trilogy, giving us an interesting villain played by an excellent actor and delivering moments of poignant tragedy that equal the very best of the MCU. I mean, if you told me that a conversation between a talking raccoon and a cybernetic otter could somehow bring a tear to my jaundiced eye
I will say the movie was sad. I ain't gonna lie.
and warm the cold ashes of my black heart, I'd have rightly
Another thing they did, I'm gonna stop pausing. I apologize. They kept like teasing that people's gonna die. Now, I don't want to like spoil the movie, but there's a couple scenes you like, oh, this dude, he about. I don't want to say he or she, but they about to die, and then 2 minutes later they walking around, they're fine. It's like, what the? I don't know what's going on. At
laughed
least
you
3
out of
times
the
they did
building,
that.
But this movie goes to show just how wrong I would have been. All that being said, it's also a movie with problems. Lots of problems. The slick and polished efficiency of its predecessors is missing. The script lurches chaotically.
And
between
Nebula, I don't know
dark,
if I was the only one that
serious
noticed
body
it. Nebula
horror
put on
and
some
personal
weight.
tragedy
I was
one
all
minute
looking
and
it up. Like, is she
goofy
pregnant?
slapstick
Because she
comedy
was
the
like
next.
kind of
It's
heavy in the
long and
midsection.
kind of unfocused,
I ain't trying to
lacking
fat
the
shame.
discipline to properly
But she put
explore
on
the
some
big
weight. I was like,
ideas
she
that
must
it
have had a
touches
baby or
on,
something. She must
and
be
weighed
pregnant or
down by a
something.
bloated cast that it doesn't know what to do with. In short, it's a bit of a mess. An often glorious and heart-wrenching mess,
It
but a
is
mess
kinda-
all the same. But what the
It was a
hell, just
little
like
longer than it
Tatiana
needed to
after
be.
one of my special
Tatiana.
sessions, it's my job to clean up even the most disturbing of creative messes, so here goes. The movie picks up with Rocket, Quill, and the other Guardians chilling out in their new base in nowhere when suddenly this big gold arsehole shows up and starts fucking the place up. Well, until Nebula shoves a sword through his gut and apparently kills him.
She
but
had
then
to be
later on
pregnant.
he's
Look
like,
at her. She
nah,
had to be
it'll
pregnant.
fine, and leaves while everyone else is distracted. What exactly are his powers and abilities again? Because he seems to be almost
I don't
comparable
know
to
what his
Captain
powers
Marvel
was.
in terms of strength
Yeah, I
and
was like,
combat
okay,
power.
he's strong.
He can fly through
Then he got
solid
stabbed
walls
and that
like
was
they're
it, and
made out
then
of
he just
paper,
kept-
but then a simple bladed weapon is enough to take
Gamora
him down.
put on weight. Look at her
Nah,
belly.
whatever. The point is
Not
that
Gamora,
Rocket
I
got critically
mean,
injured
Nebula.
in the fighting and needs urgent medical attention. Well, I guess it's not that urgent because he's still got like 48 hours to live, so whatever. The problem is that his body's been fitted with a kill switch that will activate if they try to fuck with him. The only way to disarm it is to track down his original creator and steal the deactivation codes. It sounds simple enough, but this being a Guardians movie, nothing ever goes according to plan. They're able to infiltrate the high security research station where the code's being held, but oh no, the one piece of information that they actually need has been downloaded into someone else's brain, so now they have to track him down instead.
That annoyed me. It was like, oh, we gotta go on this mission. They got there. Oh, no, it's not here. We gotta go on another mission. Oh, it isn't here. We gotta find somebody else. It's like, oh my god, like, Jesus.
The work is extremely busy on this one, if you catch my drift. Ultimately, their quest takes them to the headquarters of the High Evolutionary, a genius mad scientist obsessed with creating the perfect society and
I don't know
willing to
who this
destroy
that
anything or
dude
anyone
is.
who gets in his way.
The High
And it's all
Evolutionary, but he was a
undercut
good.
with traumatic
He was good.
flashbacks to Rocket's origin.
He a little over the
and why
top
he's
at the
so
end,
important to the
but-
High Evolutionary. Now, it's no secret that there's a fuck ton of expectations resting on this movie. Not only is it James Gunn's swan song to the Marvel Universe, and probably the final chapter of the
Yep,
Guardian
he over at
story,
DC.
but it's pretty much the only movie left in the whole MCU that anyone
I wonder
really
what they're
gives
gonna
a
do with
shit
DC.
about. After a string of flops and underperformers, they desperately need a smash hit to get the franchise back on track, and
was
Guardians
good,
3
though.
is
I would
probably
definitely
their best
recommend
chance.
people to go see it.
But
It was
does it
good.
actually get the job done? Well, it definitely does a few things right. For a start, it's almost completely insulated from the rest of the MCU, which can only be a good thing at this point. The more you're handcuffed to that convoluted shit show, the less creative freedom you have to actually tell a story. And James Gunn clearly
I'm
had a
glad
lot
it
of
had
freedom
nothing
on this
to do
one.
with-
Maybe a little too much, but don't worry, I'll talk more about that soon enough. Believe that. It's also not afraid to tackle some pretty fucking dark subject matter, and to be honest, this is where the movie really hits its stride. The flashbacks that fill in Rocket's backstory are some of the most compelling, tragic and heartfelt stuff that Marvel's ever produced. The problem is, they only take up about 10 minutes of the movie's runtime. I mean, I can't say I was ever that invested in Rocket as a character up until now. He was fine in small doses, but became kind of irritating the longer he was in a scene. But to its credit, this movie really turns him around, and by the end, I was thoroughly rooting for the guy. I think they also
I
gave
always
him
liked
the perfect
Rocket.
foil in the High Evolutionary, a terrifying mad scientist drunk on power and teetering on the brink of madness. The actor that plays him does a great job selling
he
the
did a good
intensity and the sheer malicious hatred of the character. Jesus, I'd take this guy over Kang the Conqueror any day of the week.
Word.
Visually, it looks fantastic, which should be a given for a $200 million movie at this point, but it isn't anymore considering how thin Marvel have stretched themselves in recent years. Either way though, the CGI looks fine and the film delivers some excellent spectacle, so I've got no complaints there. And damn man, Quill actually gets to be a hero instead of being constantly upstaged and turned into a fucking joke just to make the girls look better, unlike pretty much every other Marvel project.
Yeah, that's one thing I would say. It was no woke, nothing in there, nothing crazy. It was pretty much a movie structured how a movie's supposed to be structured.
Over the past few years.
You did it on your own. You had rings around them. You're amazing.
I guess I just gotta
But
throw
like I
up.
said before, this is a movie with problems, and they are not small. The most obvious one is the emotional tone. This movie is all over the fucking place. Almost
It's
every
all
dramatic
over
scene
the
has
place.
to be
Yeah,
up-
it's like, god damn. One minute you like, ooh, that's like, damn, this is sad. Next minute is, it's like, what the fuck? Wait, I'm confused. Is this a comedy? It's like, you don't know if it's a comedy, a serious movie. You don't know what's going on. It's literally all over the place. It wasn't as bad as Thor: Love and Thunder. Oh my god, I don't think nothing's bad as that. But the tone was all over the place. That's one thing I could say. It was like, 1 minute and music nonstop. God damn, every minute is a song. Like, shit, stop with the songs.
They're cut by some quippy joke or
Every
ridiculous
scene is a
slapstick
new song
comedy,
playing. It's like,
and
what the fuck with all this
goddamn
music?
jarring and irritating because the serious moments are so much darker and more impactful.
And it's
than
like,
before.
okay.
I mean, would it
And
kill
then
you to
it's
just let
2 minutes
dramatic
later is a
scene
comedy.
sink
It's
in
like-
for a minute or two? It doesn't help that most of the jokes are about as funny as a 2-hour conversation.
Yeah, and
with a
most of the
vegan
jokes
climate
wasn't that funny. There was a couple
activist
jokes
too.
that was like, alright.
Remember Taserface from Part 2? Remember how James Gunn ran that joke into the fucking ground when it wasn't even that funny to begin with?
wasn't that funny.
Well, that's basically your introduction to the bulk of the humor in this movie. The pacing is also a big problem, especially in the first half of the film. For example, there's an excruciating 30-minute sequence where the gang have to infiltrate a high security facility to get the code for Rocket's kill switch. It sounds fun, but it's basically just an excuse to have some goofy comedy scenes and ridiculously outlandish set design. Also,
Fuck spoilers. Right there, but you see Drax with the hole in his chest? Let me rewind it back a little bit.
and ridiculously outlandish.
Right here, this scene, they made it seem as if Drax was gonna die and if Nebula was gonna die. Literally, this was 30 seconds later, they was walking away. I'm like, okay, so they're perfectly fine. What is going on? And then they was playing a song as this was happening, like slow motion song, like, oh my god, with the music. And I thought people was dying. I'm like, oh shit, they about to die. It really had me for a minute. I'm like, damn, not Drax. Nebula too? Both of them is fine.
Outlandish set design. Also, is that a reference to Among Us? If so, fucking why? Anyway, by the time it's all done, the one piece of information they actually need has been removed and taken somewhere else.
Basically, no one else has a better idea. So fuck you.
Another mission.
It's the same kind of time-wasting busy work that forms the backbone of, well, every single Mandalorian episode.
I don't watch that.
This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.
This is the way we brush our teeth.
And I guess I just kind of expected more from James Gunn. Problems like this contribute to a bloated runtime of 2.5 hours, which is about 30 minutes longer than the first Guardians, and man, you really start to feel it by the ends. It also means the film doesn't really have time to give its cast proper character arcs, or tackle the bigger ideas that it tries to grapple with, like the conflict between control and free will, and whether a utopia can ever actually exist without someone there to micromanage it. There's a lot of interesting ideas to explore there, but it's all introduced so late in the film that the script just doesn't have time to flesh it out. Also, I can't quite shake the idea that the whole thing was done just because James Gunn thought it'd be a cool idea to have anthropomorphized animals walking around a suburban streets. It's the same deal with the characters. Rocket gets the lion's share of the narrative, but it leaves characters like Quill and Gamora awkwardly sidelines. I mean, I found myself not really caring about their relationship anyway, because Gamora is such a total arsehole towards
she was
everyone.
a bit of an asshole in
Like,
this
I get
movie.
that this is supposed to be an earlier version of the character without all the personal growth of the previous movies, but even the Gamora at the start of the first film was nowhere near as shitty a person
even
as
that
this
Gamora
one.
wasn't that bad.
Nebula spends most of the movie just standing around yelling at people.
Yeah, it was
and
a
it's
lot
not
of
funny or
screaming. It was like, why
endearing,
the
it's
fuck?
just
Every
screechy
scene
and
with them, like,
irritating,
it's just them
which is a
screaming
real
at each
shame
other. It's
because I've
like,
come to really
it's
like her
kinda
over
weird.
the years. Adam Warlock is given a strong intro, but it's like the writers didn't know what to do with him after those first 5 minutes. So he
Yeah,
just
it was
kind
like
of
he was
shows up
basically a
from time
clown
to time
after
and
that.
then leaves.
Spoiler alert, he
and
was
for
a
some
clown.
reason, the Guardians have all ditched their cool individual outfits from the previous films, and now they all just wear these bland generic uniforms that look dull and depressing.
Like, why do y'all
And
have
maybe
a
someone
uniform
can help
on?
me here, but why exactly did Quill decide to ditch his helmet and rocket boots?
Yeah, what the-
Two things that would
Yo, I swear. Spoiler alert again. At the end of the movie, when he was about to die, well, thinking he about to die, he's in space. I'm like, where's his helmet? I'm like, where's his? I didn't even think about the boots, but I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, he's gonna be alright. He got to turn his helmet on. I didn't see him hit the shit in the helmet. I'm like, where's the helmet? Makes no sense. They didn't even acknowledge it. Like, oh, he's just in space dying. It's like, don't he have a helmet? What the fuck happened to it?
that would have been extremely useful to him later in this movie. These various problems are
The way I'm talking, it sounds like the movie's bad, but it was actually good. Even with all these flaws, it was alright.
compounded by the usual self-indulgent cameos for James Gunn's brother Sean and James Gunn's wife Jennifer Holland.
even know that was James
oh my
Gunn's brother.
goodness, I just can't figure out why all these people with personal connections to James Gunn keep showing up in James Gunn movies.
I
Must
wonder
be a
why.
total coincidence. Even the soundtrack that punctuated the original movie is just way overdone here. Now it feels like James Gunn just went through his entire music collection and made it his personal mission to shove as much of it into this movie as possible. Most of the time it doesn't really tie into what's happening on screen.
No
like the
reason, it's
previous
just music
did.
playing.
And
It's like,
honestly,
why is
it
there
got
so
to
much
the point
music
where I
playing?
was actually starting to get pissed off with all the shitty pop songs undercutting the
Oh
action.
my
It was
God.
like Gunn was just trying to show off how much of a music connoisseur he is. All these problems add up to a frustratingly uneven, uncharacteristically bloated, messy and self-indulgent sort of film that feels like a real step down from the first two in narrative terms. And it was
It definitely wasn't as good. Obviously, it wasn't as good as the first one. I personally feel the second one was alright, but I think this one was better than the second one. I wouldn't say it's better than the second one. I would say I like it more than I like the second one because everybody got their own taste. But I personally, I liked it better than the second one.
I was kind of curious to know why this stuff might have happened, so I did a bit of digging, and wouldn't you know it, this is actually the first Guardians movie where Gunn has got sole writing credit.
He wrote
the first
it
two
too.
films were co-written by veteran
You
author
can't,
Dan
yeah,
Abnett, plus a
sometimes
couple of others.
when you a sole person writing anything, it's just pretty much just gonna be your vision, your ideas, and that's just what it is. But when you have other people helping you, it could get better. You could have different perspectives, different ideas that you wouldn't have even thought of. Like, wow, that's a good idea. And then y'all come together and make something great. Most great movies, most movies that's really amazing, there probably was more than one writer. So even if there was just one writer, there was other people giving input and into the story. But when you're the only one, pretty much this is pretty much gonna be a James Gunn festival. Everything you want in this movie is gonna be in it, and sometimes that may not be good.
of other contributors, and I suspect those guys were largely responsible for reining Gunn in and keeping things on track. Without those checks and balances in place, he was free to indulge his every whim as a
Same
writer,
thing
and
that
well,
happened to
look what we
Taika
ended up
Waititi.
with. It's a bit like Thor Love and Thunder, where Taika Waititi was given a creative blank check to do whatever he wanted,
can't give
and the
them
result was
sole
an utter calamity
control
of a movie that
movie.
squandered the goodwill built up by its predecessor.
He's not a writer, he's a
Guardians 3 is
director.
nowhere near as bad as that pile of dog
I
shit,
mean, he's
but
a
it does
writer,
suffer
but
from the same basic problem
directing
of giving
is his
too
bread
much
and butter.
creative freedom to a guy who doesn't have the discipline to properly use it. Like I said at the start, it's still miles better than anything else Marvel have put out in recent years, and even James Gunn on a
100%
bad day is better than most filmmakers working today. I just think his reputation might be slightly bigger than his actual abilities. But hey, if you're really invested in the Guardians movies, then you'll probably get a kick out of their final adventure, but I can't say it was quite the epic send-off I was hoping for. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Go away now. Alright, that's the end of it. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. I'll be back to y'all with another one. Let's go.